It's snowing outside. So you know what that means. Time for another gun review.
Bravo Fox Pop, leveling 16,000. 337 for Bravo Fox Pop. 3,000, left, level 1037.
This is a VZ-58.
Did you know it's better than the AK?
No, 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 no. The VZ-58. With your beaver bar furniture, your optional side folding stock, your AK mags. Wait a second! Ah, fuck me, those aren't AK mags. Yeah, that's right, this thing doesn't even take AK mags. Looks like it though. It's kind of fucking annoying, not gonna lie. But anyway, I digress. The VZ-58 is one of those interesting guns in history. Depending on who you are, it's one of your favorites. Depending on who you are, it's a gun you don't even know it exists. The biggest thing that I find interesting with the VZ-58 is everything the AK is, it is not, and everything the VZ-58 is, the AK is not. Essentially what happened is Czechoslovakia was forced to adopt the AK like most countries under the Warsaw Pact, Soviet Union control. However, they didn't want to adopt the AK, they thought they could do better. So, as a result, they ended up making something that looks kind of like an AK. The particular one I have has the side folding paratrooper stock, but the original Beaver Barf stock doesn't necessarily look like an AK stock, but I mean, if you squint your eyes real hard, it can kind of pass. The magazines even look like AK mags, but, you know, screw everyone, they're not AK mags. The gun doesn't take AK mags. VZ-58 mags are not compatible with AKs. The only thing in common is it is the same cartridge. The VZ-58 is a striker-fired short-stroke gas system-operated rifle. It's a very interesting firing mechanism for a rifle, especially of its era. In a world where everything else was hammer-fired, the VZ-58 being striker-fired made it different. Funny enough, it's got one of the best triggers for a military surplus rifle of its type, even better than our standard M16s at the time. The VZ-58 is actually relatively lightweight with a full milled receiver. Shaves down a lot of weight. One thing that's most noticeable is that triangular bolt carrier. When it cycles, you can actually see it open up. When you mess with it, it opens up the entire bolt. Now, being a Beretta fanboy and all, I have a special love for the VZ-58, as it employs the same falling locking block action that we're used to seeing on the Beretta 92 series. That's right, this literally locks up the same way your Beretta does. Think of it as a Beretta upside down, as the drop blocks down instead it goes up to lock, and goes up instead it drops down to unlock. At the end of the day, though, the VZ-58, by a lot of people, is considered better than an AK. And it's not. It is not better than an AK. I love both platforms. I have both platforms. I plan on getting multiple versions of both platforms in the future. But at the end of the day, the AK is a more simplistic system. The gas system is crude. It has one operating piece that's connected to the bolt. The system is more enclosed than the VZ-58. A lot of people, Canadians, will tell you that the VZ-58 is vastly superior to the AK. And that's just because they're not even allowed to own AKs. So, you know, they want to believe what they have is best. Now, I am coming from Camp VZ-58. I am someone that preaches its benefits and someone that thinks everyone should own one. But I will not look at someone in the eyes and tell them that it is better than an AK. It is cooler than an AK, 110%, but it is not an AK. But unfortunately, every time you bring up the VZ-58, you're going to hear the, you know, that's actually better than an AK in any fucking Reddit comment you posted in. And those guys are annoying. Those guys do not understand anything other than it's not an AK, but it's enough of an AK to fire the same round and therefore must be better because the Czechoslovakians make better guns than the Russians. Albeit true, the Czech Republic, in modern day, Czechoslovakia in yesteryear, has a really good reputation for firearms manufacturing. That doesn't necessarily mean everything they make is better than everyone else. Case in point, the VZ-58. It's an amazing rifle. Has relatively light recoil. Suppresses better than AK. If you could find something in 14x1 right hand, yeah, that's the other kicker. The AK is 14x1 left hand. Thankfully, we have an industry finally supporting muzzle devices for AKs, especially if your main goal is suppression. For the VZ, it is 14x1 right hand. That's right. Everything aftermarket-wise for the VZ does not work with AKs, but the downside is there's no aftermarket. You have a really good aftermarket for AK muzzle devices that do not work with the VZ. No chemos, no Plan Bs, no ASRs, no anything for the VZ. It's an adapter. Yeah, you're buying an adapter. Or you're custom paying someone to make something. I've already contacted 2 companies to try and do a 14x1 right-hand thread pitch cherry bomb style muzzle device for my VZ so I can run it suppressed. I want to do a 5.56 11.5-inch VZ here pretty soon. But unfortunately, there's no goal of suppressing that thing. So as a result, we're stuck with nothing. I'm going to have to custom make something. But I digress on that one as well. It's cool because it's not an AK. It sucks because it's not an AK. This cottage industry that's become a full-fledged manufacturing industry for AK parts and accessories all over the world and even in the United States is not something you can take advantage of. Simple things like on the new 5.56 SBR that I want to build. And I think I said 11.5. It's going to be 12.5 inch. I want to do a different handguard. There's not a ton of options. One of the best options is sending the whole gun to Semipal, USA, and they can custom fit Zukov handguards to fit. It actually looks really cool. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that's my only real good option, other than some really crappy Chinese M-Lock handguards. So it's a gun that I'm willing to tackle, and I think that's the negative. I know a lot of people who buy certain guns thinking they can just build it out. I had a buddy buy Zastava, not understanding that Zastava is proprietary pattern. This happened to 2 other people I know in the last 2 years as well, where they just think, oh, it's an AK, it's an AK. I had a buddy want to build an Alpha clone out of Zastava. He was willing to spend the $600 for a PT1 stock until I chimed in and said, that won't work at all. The VZ is even more of a headache than that. Nothing changes. Literally, absolutely nothing. Magazines don't change, triggers don't change, grips don't change, stocks don't change, handguards don't change, bolts don't change, firing pins don't change, bolt carriers don't change, barrels don't change, muzzle devices don't change, front sights don't change, bayonets don't fucking work. The only thing that works is the goddamn sling that the AK uses. It's ridiculous. And goddamn is it badass. I'm shitting on this gun a lot. And that's kind of the fun in it. It's kind of the point of these whole reviews. But realistically, it is a great rifle. In the world of military service rifles, this is one of the more refined rifles to see service. It's got an exceptionally good trigger. It's very accurate for what it is for a rifle of its era. Ergonomics are, yes. I mean, overall, the gun just looks cool, feels cool. The whole triangle-shaped bolt that is an open receiver is just badass to mess with. The built-in stripper clip guide's just cool. Everything about this gun is just neat. It's fun to shoot, but it is not an AK. It is not better than an AK. And I think that's the main issue. It's just not. So for a lot of the guys who are, I don't want an AK, but I want something in its caliber, they see the VZ58 and they're like, oh, that's the same idea as an AK. It almost looks the same. Let me do that instead. It's got to be better. It's short stroke. It's striker fire. If you don't have a tabbed carrier, you may have failure to reset issues if you shoot the damn thing enough. The barrel's extremely thin profile. When it does heat up, you will see deflection of accuracy. And if you shoot the goddamn thing enough, you will need to replace the locking block just like you do in a Beretta. Now, again, the thing is you require a ton of rounds to do so, something most people won't run into, and replacement parts aren't that expensive. Thankfully, Checkpoint USA still imports these guns and their parts, and there's tons of parts floating around. Century imported parts kit after parts kit after parts kit for these things, built them out, VZ 2008s, which actually weren't horrible after they stopped using the Ohio fast fire receivers. But overall, the guns are actually really neat inside. The open receiver design, the striker, spring, and the recoil spring being attached to the dust cover as one complete unit. And I keep saying striker, it's almost more of a linear hammer. But the gun is interesting. It's really cool, and I love shooting this thing. I need to shoot it more. I got quite a few guns in 7.62x39, and as a result, sometimes this thing sits in the back of the safe for a while. But I'm not done. I need to shoot this a lot more. I'm starting to do bulk buy of 7.62x39 again like I used to. I am going to do the 12.5-inch 5.56 pistol. That gun, when it's done, will be on the channel, but it will be a while, as I have like 12 other projects to finish, and every single time I get close to finishing one, you know how it goes, another one goes on the list. But this thing is fun. This thing is cool. If you want one, get one now, because the prices are only going up. I remember quite a while ago, I should say, you could get the Century 2008s, which Century's got a bad rep. A lot of the 2008s were made on Paradigm receivers, and those were actually really good. Paradigm had a full technical data package on the receiver. Those guns were going for $450, $500. Those guns are gone off our market. There's a small batch that came in about 3 years ago, maybe closer to 4 at this point. But other than that, you're buying a checkmate one. You're spending $1,100, $1,200, $1,300, depending on how you want it set up, $1,500 for not an AK. That price is just going to go up, folks. If you want one, buy one. If you haven't shot one, shoot one. Little things about this gun that kind of intrigue almost everyone that messes with one. Number one, kind of like a Zastava, there's a rear bolt that holds the stock on. You can change configurations quick and at home. Number two, the actual wood. Cough, cough, wood. A lot of people call it beaver barf. It's a polymer resin, not even polymer, I should say. It's a resin wood composite. It's wood chips thrown into resin, then compressed and hardened. It, at a distance, looks like wood. In real life, it's not wood. It is wood. It's weird. It's kind of ugly, and it's really cool. I mean, overall, the gun is just different. So different from what we're all used to. The bayonet attaches by going forward onto the bayonet lug. It runs the wrong version of the wrong thread pitch. The wood furniture isn't wood, but isn't plastic. It's just so neat. The magazines are AK mags, but they're not AK mags. They never have been. The gun's got a bolt lock, which is neat. It's got a last round bolt hold open, and there's actually a button on the exterior of the rifle to lock it back manually. It's not just it locks back on the last shot. Ergonomically, it is better than an AK. It is lighter than an AK. It is more slender than an AK. But it is not an AK. It is not better than an AK. But that's the fun of it. It's not an AK. You get to own something and shoot something that looks like an AK, and it's not. And every time you bring it out to a range, if there's people there like, man, what is that? What AK is that? And you have to be like, that's actually not an AK. It's a cool gun. And this is honestly one of my favorite guns I own. I shit on it in this video because, again, kind of the point of this video is to be lighthearted and fun, and everything has its flaws, and part of it is just pointing out these flaws. But they did a good job with this gun. I mean, I can see why it lasted military service so long. It is reliable. It's not as reliable as an AK in that the system is just more opened up to dirt and debris. But it's not inherently unreliable. Just it is a little bit more susceptible to ingress. But as a combat rifle, this thing would serve extremely well. It is reliable, especially when it's not filthy. If it doesn't even have to be properly lubed. Just keep it relatively clean, the gun will run forever. The magazines are actually really well made. The finish is extremely durable. The ergonomics are actually good for something that actually just handles. I mean, overall, this is a gun that I hope never gets lost to history. Anyway, this has been another comical gun review. It's been a while since we made one of these. Obviously, we're getting the channel back up and running, and I just have a lot of fun making these. So stay tuned, guys. Hit like, subscribe if you aren't already. And no matter what, welcome to Tools of Salva, baby.